There's a cry from a young boy in a city running wild. There's a cry from a mother who just lost another child. There's a cry. Good morning. Oh, bro, how are you? Who have nothing more to lose. Everything that they live for. Good morning. Has been wasted and abused. There's a cry from a river. That's Cry from a River by Timmy Dakolo. And the blood of the river was lost so long ago. And the cry for a reason that only heaven knows. Where did we go wrong? How can we go wrong? Only love remains the answer. There's a man on a mission. When you hear this, you know we're live. PF Things. This episode 110 means we've done this for 110 days. Super excited. He has come for the people on a promise yet to come. So they kill one another for a hope that never comes. There's a cry from a river that has nowhere to flow, and the pride of the river was lost long ago. And I cried for a reason that only heaven knows. Where did we go wrong? How can they go wrong? Only hope remains the Okay, you are welcome. This is PF Things, episode 110 from Praise Forward International Studios, Lagos, Nigeria. How are you today? I'm so excited, super excited to have come your way consistently in the last 110 days. Whoa, I'm super excited about this, and I'm so grateful that you always join me. Well, today we have been looking at mastering co-parenting for some days right now, and we've covered all kinds of aspects of co-parenting. So today I just want to take a few question and answers. Some of you have asked so many questions, so I'm going to be attempting to answer some of the questions. Please, I need you to know that there are some of those questions that you can't fully exhaust because of time, and some of them were not totally specific because there is a peculiarity of your situation which is different from the generic questions people ask. So I don't have the opportunity of probing more to get more information, but I will attempt to respond to some of the questions you guys have sent in, quite a number of them, but I will start today. Now, the number one question for today that was asked is, how do I handle a situation in which my ex is not willing to join me in co-parenting? Now, we've had situations like that where your ex is unwilling to join you in co-parenting. Now, I remember when we started this co-parenting series, I had mentioned that not everyone who donated semen is the father, and not everyone who conceived and carried a child pregnancy to term is a mother, right? Someone can be hired to carry a pregnancy, and that is a surrogate mother. The moment a mother does not take responsibilities for the upbringing of a child, she's not a mother, because the job and role description of motherhood includes mental, emotional, financial development, the overall development of the child. Now, the moment a man just donates semen and does not take responsibilities for the upbringing of a child, that person is a human sperm bank. So basically what happened was he donated semen to inseminate a egg that has produced a baby. It doesn't make him the father. So maybe he has been paid off or something like that. That's an act of irresponsibility. So when you have a situation where marriage is broken down and your ex is unwilling to join you in co-parenting, then the clause of single parenting is activated. It means you are at liberty to discover who your child is. You are at liberty to create a template for the best interest of the child. You are at liberty actually to approach the court and ask for sole custody, right? Especially if after 2 years of a divorce, he has not shown responsibility, because part of the divorce process will specify, the judge will pronounce the responsibilities on both sides. If he has not met his part of the responsibility, then you can actually activate full custody for your child and take responsibilities. And what I usually would say, especially if you're a single parent, is find a male figure that your children can defer to, someone who can act as a father. Like I said, fatherhood has nothing to do with semen donation or has nothing to do with conception. It has everything to do with responsibility for the wellness of a child. So you need to find a person who the children can defer. It could be an uncle, it could be a mentor, but it must be someone in the life of the children. But you can as well learn the acts of parenting, and fulfill that role. Please don't be annoyed, don't be hurt, because when you are yet to fully heal, you will pass you'll transfer aggression to your children. It's not easy, it's going to be tough, but trust me, you are built to overcome tough times. And if you look at who your children are capable of becoming in the future, that should inspire you to become everything you need to become to get the best out of your children. And you are also at liberty to remarry. And when you want to remarry, you need to have that conversation with the person you're going to marry. If the person is unwilling to adopt your children as his children or your children as our children, then there is no point. Okay, so I think that answers that question. Number 2 question for today: my ex did not take part in co-parenting and is now showing up to try to play a role when my kids are now in their 20s, claiming he was bewitched. He's telling everyone I turned the children against him. Okay, unfortunately, the law does not recognize voodooism or someone bewitched you or they use juju on you. The law does not recognize that, except you can prove it. Unfortunately, you cannot prove spiritism within the ambit of the law. So if a man has stayed away from parenting or assuming responsibility in co-parenting, so it meant, from what you've said, that your divorce process actually happened like 20 years ago, minimum 20 years ago, right? And it did not show up. You have raised the children. Well, that is now outside your jurisdiction. The law, generally, your children are assumed to become adult at the age of 16 and 18, thereabout, depending on the country where you function. Now, the children are the ones who can decide whether they want them to play a role in their lives or not. Right? I have seen a lot of children who were raised without, maybe the father impregnated the mother and he ran away, and I've seen those children become great without the father functioning or playing any role, right? Because he was an irresponsible person who went his way. And because I don't know how people do it. I know in some culture, in some religion, it is assumed that the father is always the father. There's no problem with that. But you see, when a child has assumed, has attained the age of adulthood, then a child is the adult, the 18-year-old can decide if he wants the father back or if he doesn't want the father at all. Now, they won't be wrong if they don't, because there was someone who stood at the father all through their formative years. There was someone who stood there, which again ties into a situation where you have this issue about paternity test being taken, and it was found out that maybe after 20 years a man now realizes that he was not the one that inseminated the egg that fertilized the egg that produced the children. Maybe the wife just imposed those children on him. At that level, the person that raised the children is the father, right? That's the only father they've known. So you can't just show up from nowhere and begin to cook the coke and ball story. Now, in a situation where you attempted to reach the children and the mother fenced you away, that's a different ballgame entirely, right? But in a situation where you did not show up on the radar and your children are now 20 years old, I mean, shame should actually make you run away. And if you are even showing up, is to just apologize for your responsibility, not to now attempt to take over as a father. What fatherhood are you talking about? These children are already adult, but the children are the ones who now have a right to say, you know what, we want him back as our father, or they don't want you as a father. That is what it is. So as a woman who has raised the children, because from this case, it's looking like is a woman, right? And it can be vice versa. So in that case, if he's telling everyone you turn him against the children, that story holds no water, right? What role did he send money in this 20 years? Did they attempt to visit them at school? Did he go for PTA meeting? Did he go for all these things? If he didn't go for the children for that, well, the children have liberty to choose, because now they are adults. They can decide and say, this is our father, this is not our father, we have another father, and what have you. So it cannot bring semen, the donation of semen, to justify the father is a father. The children are adult, and an adult can actually sever ties with any other adult. So that is not in your end anymore as a woman. So don't have anything to be worried about. I know some cultures are so bad that the man will not wear, especially in Africa, he will not wear a particular traditional robe and say he wants to come and function during wedding ceremony. What wedding ceremony? What if the child has died? And but it's not in your place to be hurt, right? You need to have a large heart, because the children can as well say, oh, we want our father back, we want reconciliation. That's not a problem. You don't have to feel hurt. The good thing is that they know the person that raised them, and you have done the bit of your job by raising children to become the best version of themselves. I hope that has helped in there. Number 3 question: how do I co-parent with a woman who sees me, okay, not sees me as an enemy, and every attempt she gets, she seeks to poison the kid's mind against me? I'm thinking of applying for sole custody because her toxicity is too much. Now, well, I would have loved to ask you further questions about this, but the thing is, you cannot totally blame her for being toxic, right? Because she's also human, and our capacity to handle crisis differ from person to person. So in this case, I would assume that the divorce was messy, right? And when someone has lived with you, is a part of your life. The bad thing about divorce is that if your spouse died, you're not going to see them again. But the thing about divorce is you are physically divorced, but somehow a part of you is inside the person, because there are memories both of you have shared over time, memories of your outings together, memories of your marriage, memories of how much you planned it, the amount you spent, memories of having your first baby, second baby, memories of moving from house to house, working together when there was nothing, putting up with each other. Now someone has become rich, or both of you have become wealthy, and now divorce happens, right? So I don't want you to take a position yet and apply force, right? The first thing you need to apply is reason, because within the ambits of the law, both of you own the children. You are the father, she is the mother. Now, a toxicity could be born out of pain, which was why when we were talking about co-parenting and we started the second episode, we talked about moving from pain to responsibility, to say you can either be at cause or be at effect. Effect is where many people are, where they keep blaming this person, he messed up my life, destroyed my life. So they never learn to separate fact from opinion. And like we said, opinion is subject to your personal interpretation, is different from what happened. As a matter of fact, I said opinions are exaggerated facts, because it's the way you say it. It doesn't mean that was what happened, but that is the interpretation you have given to it, right? So you need to understand that people hurt differently, and we cannot define or determine how they hurt or how they grieve. Now, what you can do is to be patient and maybe seek an audience or find a mediator that can call a meeting and find out exactly what is going on, right? If you have someone that both of you respect, everyone has someone they defer to. The moment someone doesn't have anyone they defer to, that person is becoming a monster, basically. So find the time, be patient, right? And sit with her, let her understand, let the person who is mediating make her understand that divorce is a different script compared to co-parenting. Now, the location of divorce, you can hurt there. In the location of co-parenting, your hurt and your pain is a disadvantage to the upbringing of the child, and it's going to damage the child. So the moment she becomes toxic and begins to poison the mind of the child against you, that will be classified as emotional abuse. Now, she needs to know that she stands the risk of losing absolute custody or even joint custody, because it will be deemed that the child is not safe around her. So the Child Rights Act can be activated in this case, and the child can be taken away from her. Because a child does not need to know that your father is a useless man, your father is a wicked man, your father done me for another man. That is within the scope of marriage and divorce. It's not within the script of co-parenting. The role of co-parenting is to collaborate as a team to raise a child to become the best version of himself. It's not a crisis settlement zone. No, it's about a child. And like we said, the star of the show in co-parenting is neither the two of you. The star of the show is the child, and you need to understand that and appropriate that and act within the function of the casting that you have been asked to play, the role you've been asked to play. So when you have a co-parent who is very toxic, you want to toe the path of peace. Within the path of peace, there is peace and pleasantness, right? So you want to toe that path because you don't also want to become very toxic and very angry and activate the law first. You want to apply reason. When reason has failed, and every time the child comes back hating you more, the child comes back saying a lot of things that should not be said to a child, then you might want to get maybe a child therapist, a child psychologist to conduct a proper evaluation, maybe even a forensic auditor within the child protection space, right? In Nigeria, I think the prominent person we have is Dr. Princess Olufemi, right? You might want to engage her so that they will interview the child, and that can be admissible in court. Do you understand? So the part of peace is what you first want to do, because a lot of people in their hurting state, they do a lot of irrational stuff. And she can actually say that it was a mental health breakdown, nervous breakdown, occasioned by what had happened in the course of the divorce, and that could also be admissible, right? Even though she might lose custody, because someone who is not emotionally or mentally stable cannot be seen around the child, right? But you want to try the part of peace first, so that's what I would recommend, and find someone that she defers to, someone who can talk a bit of sense or bring clarity using expanded awareness to help her understand why she needs to work together with you to get the best out of the child. Now, please, I'm going to appeal to everyone who is co-parenting. It's not in your place to tell your child that when the child is with you, that their father is bad, even if their father is bad, right? Because don't close the door of reconciliation. What you should do is create a narrative that excuses the man who is irresponsible for now. So you can say to the children, oh, your dad is unavailable right now, he's working so hard and his work doesn't give him time. We hope he will come someday. Do you understand? Right? But meanwhile, there is someone who will be, representing that, right? Every now and then, especially if your children are in their formative years. So you need to create what looks like a narrative that promotes the best interest of everyone. So you would rather excuse than poison the mind of the children and be trying to apologize later. So in this case, please, so the part of peace, when the part of peace has failed, then you can apply for sole custody. Because when a child lives in a toxic environment, the child becomes toxic as well. And if you check Adolf Hitler, he was a traumatized child. If you check Idi Amin Dada of Uganda, he was traumatized. Joseph Stalin was traumatized as a child, right? And please, we do not want more children to be traumatized, because by the time they become adults, they're going to traumatize the world. And that's not what we want. Number 4 question today. Someone is asking, in a bid for my ex to have sole custody, she lied against me that I tried to rape our daughter and she couldn't trust me with them. How do I handle issues like this that is messing up my sanity? Now, when people are trying to get full custody, especially when a divorce happened in a messy situation, they can get into all sorts and get into lies just to have full custody. Now, in this case, I would assume that you're living in an environment that is very, very high on child protection, and most of the time is a word against yours, especially even in a rape situation. And when the child has been properly cooked, now the child can actually be made to lie against the father. And of course, once a child speaks against you, is a child's word against you as they are at the end of the day. Now, I empathize with you. I feel very, very sorry that this happened to you. No one needed to go through this kind of situation, but you can actually get a child specialist, maybe a forensic auditor again, to examine the child and interview the child, right? They have a way, maybe child therapists, they have a way of extracting the accurate information about the child from the child, especially since there's been allegation of sexual misconduct against your child, right? So the right thing will be to subject the child to some kind of interview, which will help to elicit the truth, extract the truth out of the child, because I can imagine the pain you will be going through right now when you don't have access to your child under the allegation of rape. And the pattern is, if the mother begins to tell the children that, and the children grow with that mentality, they will hate you, and a label that is not yours has been slapped on you. And I see people do this. I'm going to appeal to you, please. Rape allegation is not a joke, and don't play with it. No matter how hurting you are, that will be wickedness against someone who is actually the father. See, in a divorce situation, the man has no access to your body, but the man must have access to his children. The same way the woman must have access to his, no matter how bad the divorce was. You cannot bring your pain into co-parenting. Co-parenting is a different ballgame entirely. And please, mature people, and which is why I love what Jennifer Lopez did, and she created a narrative for the absence of our ex with the children by telling the children, oh, dad is busy trying to make ends meet for us. It's not available right now, but mom is representing both of us. That is maturity in co-parenting. Now, when you guys are talking about how your marriage is broke down, you can shout on each other, throw tantrums in the absence of the child. But when the child shows up, the two of you must maintain decorum as mature adult. In this case, someone has been accused of rape. You want to seek a redress so that the label of rapist is not slammed on you, or the label of an incestuous man is not slapped on you. Because if your wife tells the children will tell their friends, and before you know it, someone can just shoot you sometimes in the future. So you want to toe the path. I would suggest that you speak to your lawyer. I would suggest you speak to a child activist. And there are so many NGOs like that. I would suggest, if you live in Nigeria, I would suggest recommend Mrs. Olufemi Kayode, or Auntie Josephine Efa Chukuma. I would suggest you get a proper lawyer, and you seek a redress properly. If you live in Lagos, for example, you can go to the Citizens' Rights office, where you have I think it's Barrister, I don't know, Barrister Rotimi that used to be there, that is still there. I don't know who's going to be there tomorrow, but as it stands today, you might want to go see her and explain your case. And you can also, visit the agency in charge and state your case. And you need to explain why you thought this label was slapped on you. And I'm sure they will be reasonable enough to go through the proper route of checking a fact finding, right? And then once the fact found, and the good thing is that once it's been established that she's a liar, you can be given full custody, as a matter of fact, because it would mean that she is subject, and you can even get some damages out of this situation, but it's neither here nor there. But what I would recommend is talk to a professional, and so that we can look at how valid your case could be. If you are sure you never did it, then I think you should seek a redress so that this label can be taken off you, because she's going to talk to people at the end of the day, and the way you're going to be perceived, it can make you lose business, it can make you lose your reputation, your credibility, and what have you. So in this case, don't lie low and expect things to be fine. You need to do something about it as a matter of urgency. That will be my recommendation to you. Number 5 question. I'll take about 6 questions today. I'll see if I can continue tomorrow. If you want to send in your question, you can send to praiseforward@gmail.com. Praiseforward, Praise, forward is FOWWE @gmail.com. Number 5 question. I followed this entire series, but still find it hard to forgive what I was subjected to in the hands of my ex. I have tried to avoid are, but she keeps seeking to play a role in the lives of her son. What do you suggest I do? Well, the first thing I will need you to know is that your ex couldn't have been devil incarnate. Even if it's the devil serves good sometimes. Do you understand? So you cannot absolutely slam a label of devil on your ex, right? So yes, she hurts you. And please, if you have listened to the series, you will hear me say consistently that marriage is a movie with a script, with an end. Parenting is also a movie with a script, right? So you need to understand that these are two different locations, two different job description, two different role description, two different casting, two different production managers, two different executive producers, two different, plots. So you need to understand this. Now, so this is your broken down marriage, and this is co-parenting. Even within your broken down marriage, there are different sides to it depending on what has happened. So within your broken down marriage, there was the horror movie, which was the pain. There was the maybe horror movie, yeah. There was the bliss channel, which you have intentionally suppressed. So if you check, let's assume there was a bad side of your marriage. So what I usually would do is I'll tell you to draw a tree and draw your trunk. Within the trunk, I want you to list every good thing about your marriage, your broken down marriage, from the right side, and every good thing about your spouse, your ex, on the right side. And on the left side, can you list every pain you went through? You will see that people will draw a long list on the left side, because by the time you begin to troubleshoot or cross examine, you will find out that they have repeated the same thing in like 10 different ways, right? Meanwhile, they never repeat the same things on the right side. As a matter of fact, some of them will tell you there's nothing good about the marriage until you begin to tell them, oh, I was the first sex. I was it on your wedding day. You got her out. You lived in the house. You got a car gift. I was your way. Then you begin to bring it out in them, because during pain has the tendency to make us numb every good thing that has happened, right? So if you're listening to me right now, you are in this situation. Can you draw up the two sides and look at the good sides? No matter how little it is, you need to look at it, because we have the tendency as human beings to exaggerate the bad and undermine the good. What were the good things that happened in that relationship? You had good moments, right? Whatever you focus on is what drives or what affects your mood, and is subject to your interpretation as well. Dr. Dispenza said that the human brain does not have the capacity to accurately recall an event that happened in the past, right? So you need to understand that. Now, having understood that, you need to intentionally seek for the good moments. So let's pretend that you want to bring a memory recall. Let's pretend that the marriage did not break down. Can you recall the good moments that you had in the marriage from on the right side, right? So let's assume this is a screen and the screen is playing. Can you recall the good moments, right? Wherein the bad moments are here, right? When you understand that, if you focus on this, you realize that you feel a bit of pleasure. If you come here, you feel a bit of pain. Now, the pain is valid. What I would advise, if your pain is valid, is see a therapist. You can call me or work with Zuria was here yesterday. You can work with someone who can help you. Priscilla has also been here, who can help you isolate the pain and take you through the path of healing. You need to do that for yourself, for your sanity, because, not forgiving people or carrying hurt and hatred, it's like, shooting yourself on the head, putting a bullet to your head, and expecting someone else to die. The person that hurts you may have moved on, but you are still carrying the pain. It's like carrying two big stones into your future. It's going to drain you, damage you. It's going to take away good friendship that has coming into your life, take them away from you, because nobody wants to stay around someone that is in pain, someone that is toxic all the time, someone that is angry. Nobody wants to stay around that kind of a person. So it's going to deprive your relationship. It's going to deprive you of many doors that could have opened. It's going to deprive you of so many things. And it will also secrete the wrong hormones inside of you, right? Which can lead to cancer, which can lead to all kinds of ailment, because disease is what this is. When your ease is unsettled, disease is inevitable. So what you need to do is to go through a proper pain. I took a session on healing, I think in episode 52, or 53. You can check it. Healing and Praise Forward. Search it out on YouTube. You will find it. You can go through that process. It will bring you healing. Do you understand? So if you are finding it difficult to forget, it's because your coping mechanism is either to evade or avoid. Then you need to go back and confront it. I always say make peace with your past, so that you can enjoy bliss in your future. But in this case, even though marriage is broken down, you are still bringing that pain into this relationship. She is the mother of the children. She has a role to play in their life. She doesn't have any role to play in your marriage and your love life, but she has a role to play in the life of our children. You are not the child, right? That you are just two people coming together to play in the team to win the World Cup together. Wherein the World Cup is the child, and you need to collaborate to get that done. I help you. Please go for a proper session therapy on healing. Number 6, and that will be the last for today. My marriage of my wife's activities with false prophets. This prophet issue again. And I'm starting to notice that she started taking our 2 kids to the mountain to see same prophets. Please, what do I need to do about this? Now, this is a very tricky situation, because question is, what's he doing with the prophet? Now, a lot of people do bad things with good intention, right? Especially if you live in Africa or a third world setting where the people we look up to are prophets and religious leaders. In developed nations, the people you look up to are inventors and industrialists. In developing countries, they are prophets and religious leaders. So naturally, which is why when you call a prayer meeting, you see a lot of women at the prayer meeting. It's, for lack of a better word, how they survive, kind of. Now, unfortunately, that sector of religion is not regulated, because you now have Pentecostalism, you have the Orthodox. Orthodox is a bit related, Pentecostalism is not. So somebody can just wake up and have a dream and start a church once he can register. That becomes a problem. So you have a lot of false prophets, the same way you still have genuine prophets. So how do we separate the two? It becomes a problem. Now, a lot of false prophets will begin to see evil to maintain their relevance in the life of their clients. I'm using the word clients intentionally, because a good prophet of God will not take advantage of the people who are coming. But when your business model is built, for a lack of a better word, again, I'm using our business model because it would look like it's God's work, but it's a business model for many of them. It's built around people's misfortune. It's built around your ability to see evil. Because if a prophet never sees the businesses you should get into, he never sees where your billions are, all he sees is debt, then the person needs to position himself as your solution, as your God, and that becomes a problem, because nobody likes to lose a good customer. So your ex-wife is already stuck in a web and she needs help, right? Unfortunately, because you are now co-parenting, she's now taking your children, and now she's not taking the children there. My mentor once said to me, when you don't know what someone is trying to do, try to know what they couldn't have been trying to do. The questions will be, is she trying to pull down your children? Is she trying to kill them? No, you can be sure that the motive is right. The implementation is what is wrong, right? So the motive is to protect the children from harm, from death, or maybe even a repeat of a divorce. She's trying to secure prayers. Unfortunately, she's in the wrong end. Right? If you have a mediator working with you, sit together and talk through this, right? Or worst case scenario, you might need to have to go into the place of the law again, to say, I'll create a script together with the mediator to say, you do not want the children to be exposed to, because again, the Child Rights Act can be activated in this case. Is very tricky, but you need to be very intentional about this, to say, why are children going to the mountain if it's deliverance? I mean, if you live in Nigeria, you have a strong case, because there's been cases of children who have been traumatized by the deliverance session, so you can actually talk to a lawyer or talk to a mediator or talk to someone that both of you respect, right? Maybe a father, a mother. Of course, a family, if they are given to those kind of prophecy kind of thing, right? not even be the best person to talk to, but you can, if she has a boss, you can talk to a boss who can call the two of you together, right, and open her eyes. Or maybe a child's rights advocate, you can talk to the Child Protection Network, where they can call the two of you. Or if you leave, there are agencies in various states where you can sit together and they will agree on the terms of co-parenting, and they will exclude that place where you can tell somebody to pray for the children, but to subject your children to mountain experience with somebody. I mean, because it will now be asked, where are the facts to show that they are being attacked, right? How come they're not being attacked when they go to their father? Because again, like I said, the intention is right. She's thinking, maybe, especially if you are remarried, people live with this here. The prophets may be seeing vision that maybe your new wife will want to kill the children. So she's seeking protection for the children. She means well. It's just that it's going to backfire, especially if she's dealing with a false prophet. Because no good prophet will keep telling someone to come all the time, right? So you want to, for lack of a better word, seek the place of peace, right? And if there are agencies within your state that can call the two of you together and activate the Child Protection Act, that will be fantastic, right? And at the end of the day, you need to assure her, and which is where in co-parenting, there are so many people involved. You have the stepmother, stepfather, you have the two exes, you have the family, the fosters, the school system, which we've done a session on that where we talked about the role everyone needs to play, right? So you need to sit her down and let her understand that you love her, you love the children, and as co-parent, and you need to do the best interest for the children, right? And that the prophet thing is outside the scope of what you will permit, that you accept it. And if she insists on throwing that part, then you might want to talk to your lawyer to know what needs to be done, or talk to someone that she respects who can totally stop that and get her to pray for the children by herself. Because if the prophetic and the vision they are seeing will what's crash the marriage, is also going to sabotage parenting. So again, how can I get the Child Protection Act? Well, if you go online, you can actually download it. If you're in Nigeria, every nation seems to have it. The only problem in Nigeria is that many of the northern states have not passed it into law. Lagos has passed it into law, and many other states. So you can actually download it online. If you check Google and check the Child Rights Act, the one for Nigeria, you can actually download it, or you can speak to a child rights activist or a child rights lawyer. The most prominent we have in Nigeria right now is Barrister Taiwo Akinlami. You can Google him and check out, and he can give you a copy. I mean, if you go to Lagos State Government Ministry of Youth and Sport, you can have a free copy, or the agency in charge of domestic violence prevention, you can also have a free copy. It's available, so you can read it, and that can help you, because we do not want to be traumatized in the name of deliverance. Children are beaten black and blue in the name of casting out demons, by prophets who are not exposed and they don't know what they're doing, but a lot of women seem to believe in many false prophets. Now, remember I said there are good prophets, and good prophets will not subject people to this kind of thing, seeing all kinds of evil. There's evil in the way, your child, they want to kill your child and all this kind of thing. No, even if they see, they'll just tell you to pray, not that you'll be coming to mountain all the time. So you want to, which is why in co-parenting, you need to write a script together. You need to create what we call the scripting of the child and the user's manual of the child, to say, this is what we have agreed, this is how we have agreed to raise a child, and everything that you have agreed must be in the best interest of the child, which is why you will always need a mediator who will midwife the process and help you agree on how to get the best of the child, because the potential of the child is what must dictate the format and the training process for the best interest of the child. Okay, so I think that all we will do today. I'll try and see if we can take more questions tomorrow. So you can send your questions to praisforward@gmail.com. I'll attempt to answer them. If not, we will tidy this up tomorrow and we'll move into something else. If there's any aspect of life that you want me to talk on, narrow down, please feel free to slide into my inbox and share what you will have me talk about as we start day 111 tomorrow. It's been your favorite family life coach and family life therapist, Praise Forward, signing out today. I'll see you tomorrow. Till then, keep loving, keep living, and remember, you can become the best version of yourself, and you need to collaborate to get the best out of your children together. Marriage can fail, co-parenting must not fail, because the child will hold the two of you responsible. So you need to come together and work as a team. Thank you very much. Have a fantastic day. Bye bye. There's a cry from a young boy